Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, You and Me Plus 3. I am now 16 weeks along in this pregnancy. I am currently a gestational carrier, carrying for some wonderful intended parents. And I just wanted to kind of start sharing a little bit more about what this journey has been like so far and up to this point. So let's jump right on into it. So as I said, I am currently 16 weeks pregnant. My due date is December 8th, 2019. Today is June 26th of 2019. Our transfer date was on March 20th, and we placed a 4AA embryo in for this IVF cycle, and it was thankfully very successful. If you watch back, you will see on one of my other videos where I actually did a home test to see if I was pregnant or not, and I started testing at 3.5 days past transfer and kind of questioned a line, and then at 4 days, just a few hours later, when I officially hit 4 days past transfer, I tested again and the line was much more obvious. And so when I took that test, I actually took it knowing that my intended parents did not want to know the results, which I think I mentioned in that video. So they wanted to wait until the beta blood test, so that they weren't kind of waiting for results twice and being nervous the entire time, which is completely understandable. So they got those results, and they have now since seen the video of when I found out that I was carrying their little baby, and all parties are extremely excited. We have all had great communication during this journey, and I am so thankful that I was matched with such incredible intended parents. They are honestly so sweet and kind, and their family is just so incredible, and I am so glad to be doing this journey for them and to be experiencing this with them, and to know what loving people this baby is going to go home with at the end of it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what the journey was like to get here. So I've talked slightly about all of it. We went through a medical clearance with their RE, the reproductive endocrinologist that we actually flew out to see when we did the transfer, my husband and I. And then we did a site consult, then we got legally cleared, we signed our contracts, and then we jumped right into the medical phase of things, of starting the med cycle and getting ready for the IVF cycle, or embryo transfer as we could also call it. So like I said, that was on March 20th. My husband and I flew out a few days in advance. We had never been out to California before, where their the intended parents' RE was, so we went there for it. We went to Disneyland for 2 days while we were out there. My best friend was able to join us since she lives on that side of the country, so I got to spend some time with her, which was wonderful. We got to go to the beach. We went to the Pacific, which was fantastic since we live on the Atlantic Ocean. It was just nice to kind of experiencing and put our toes in the water there. And then we ended up doing the transfer and flew home the next day. So I did not have to have any bed rest for my embryo transfer. The doctor did not require it. He said to kind of continue about your day as long as you're not doing any strenuous activity. So we actually took a Warner Brothers studio tour after we did the embryo transfer, and we got to go on the Ellen stage, which was incredible and kind of a lifelong dream of mine to be able to go there. And we didn't get to see her, and I'm totally okay with that. Just knowing that we got to go on her stage was pretty incredible, knowing how many positive things kind of happen there. And I actually mentioned in my positive pregnancy test video saying I knew touching that Ellen spot was lucky, and it was because I had actually got down and kind of rubbed the spot of where her marker is when she comes out for the beginning of the show, and I got to sit in the stands, and the guy that did our tour while we were out there, Bobby D, shout out to Bobby D if he ever sees this, he was fantastic at the Warner Brothers studio tour. If you ever have an option of who to pick him. He is great. We did some great reviews for him just because he was so phenomenal, but he took pictures of us up there and really could tell how important it was to me to be there and how much I admire Ellen. And so that was a really cool part of the trip, and I honestly believe that just part of some of her positivity might have helped. It certainly didn't hurt the situation. We flew home the next day, like I said, went about life, and then just a few days later I was testing to see if the little embryo had stuck or not. It's incredible to know that the embryo stuck on our first try. That's not always the case, especially, I mean, I'm a first-time surrogate. This is my first journey. This is the first journey for the intended parents having to go through this with surrogacy, and it's a whole new ballgame for all of us. We're all learning as we go through this journey, and it's quite exciting, but nerve-wracking at the same time, of the unknown and the possibilities that could kind of come up through all of this. I feel like I need to take a breath. Kind of regain my thoughts a little bit. So what do I want to talk about next? Pregnancy brain blanking. So some of the symptoms that I started to have right away were the next day. I was feeling some cramping day after transfer when we were flying home. And having had my own children, I knew that that was a good thing. The embryo was a 5-day embryo, and knowing where my body would be at if it had been a natural cycle and what the embryo was and everything, I knew I was looking for implantation cramping, and I certainly started to feel it right away. I assumed just from doing the IVF cycle and kind of the transfer that I would be crampy anyways, but I just felt like it was a little bit promising, feeling those extra cramps and twinges. So I just kept my fingers crossed that it was going to stick. Quite quickly, I started to receive or feel breast tenderness, a little bit of nausea, and I didn't know if that was just in my head or not, or what was going on. And then once I got that positive pregnancy test, I knew exactly why I was feeling all of those. The one thing that happens, and this is TMI for any family that are watching, but this is pregnancy honestly, is once you start the med cycle, is you're taking estrogen and progesterone eventually, and it causes a lot of extra discharge, which is normal in pregnancy. The body is trying to prepare to keep that embryo in there and stuck to your uterine wall, or your uterine lining. And so that was kind of occurring, and then I forgot how much it happens when you're actually pregnant and how much more increased it is. So that is another symptom that I was experiencing it, and will continue to experience throughout the pregnancy, unfortunately. That's just one of the little downfalls of it. So now that I've told you about the symptoms, I thought I would tell you a little bit about what it was like to be able to tell the intended parents that they are expecting a baby. So we wanted to be able to Skype to have the conversation. I received the blood results through the doctor's office of where I had gone to have my blood work done. They sent me the results, and then I was going to have the pleasure of sharing the good news with the parents. And even if this transfer had not been successful, I still wanted to be the one to share the news with the intended parents, because we are going through this journey together, and I didn't want it to just come from somebody that's at an agency that isn't getting that same connection as I am with them. So I just thought it would be on a little bit nicer of a level. And so my husband and I had sat down, we rushed home from work, I had the results in hand, and we ended up Skyping with the parents and just kind of asked how they were doing, checked in a little bit before telling them. And so they don't know this, but I actually had my camera set up at the time to record their reaction so that later on down the road they can see what their reaction was. So surprise to you guys, I know you guys watch my videos, but I actually caught that on camera for you, and it was just such a sweet and sentimental moment. I know it's pregnancy hormones, but I'm just tearing up at the thought of it. Of seeing your faces knowing that it worked on the first try it's indescribable, honestly, to see what it's like to be able to experience telling somebody that they are expecting a baby is incredible, and then to be able to be the one carrying it makes it extra neat. So that was a wonderful moment that I'll never forget in my life. I know my husband feels the same way, and it was just such a pleasure to be able to tell you guys. And so from there, now that the parents found out, pregnancy has just continued. So like I said, I'm 16 weeks now. I will show you kind of the belly. I certainly have a belly at this point. And with this being my 4th pregnancy, I kind of popped out already. I have gone maternity clothes shopping. I'm very thankful that I kept my maternity clothes from when I was pregnant with my son Jackson, because it's a huge expense saved for the intended parents, and it's also just maternity clothes you get to wear for such a short period of time, and I didn't want to waste them, and I knew I was going to be wanting to do a surrogacy journey, so I held on to those clothes, and I'm so glad that I did, because they've been extremely helpful. I have had to go buy a little bit more just because now my work attire is a little bit different now that I'm part of the management team, and I was before, but being a bakery manager, you dress a little bit different than you do as an HR manager. So I went shopping. I have needed new bras because my breasts have grown so much. Again, TMI for family, I'm sorry. It's just part of pregnancy. It is what it is. It's the human body. And I am certainly not somebody that is shy about that. When we had talked for the first time, the intended parents and myself and my husband, they asked if they could be in the room for delivery, and I said absolutely, this is their child, and if that's where they want to be, I wouldn't want them to be anywhere else. So I'm really excited that they'll get to experience that as well. But yeah, so I'm going to show you my belly of where I'm at 16 weeks pregnant. So here's the bump. My nice little tattoo right there. Sorry if you don't like them. 'Tis what it is. But the little nugget is growing extremely well in there. It is now approximately 4.5 inches long from crown to rump, so head to butt, and then little feet as well. It's so sweet to see. I use the Ovia pregnancy app just to see how big babies' hands and feet are at this point and to kind of compare size. They say this week it's the size of a dill pickle. So good thing I really like pickles right now and have throughout all of my pregnancies. I'm really not sure what else to give you guys an update on. Nausea was a big thing during this pregnancy. I really didn't experience it with my own children, and I have joked a couple times that this baby is trying to punish me because it knows I am not its mama, and it has given me some severe morning sickness, although I don't know who came up with that term because it is not morning sickness, it is all day sickness. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and immediately feel nauseous. I'd brush my teeth and it'd make me go vomit. I'd get home from driving in the car, it'd make me vomit. It didn't matter. So I've learned to eat smaller meals, keep crackers in the car, and drink a lot of water because it seems to help. During the first trimester, I could not have any caffeine, and now during this point I can have up to whatever the doctor has told me I can have, and so having a few sips of Coca-Cola here and there certainly helps settle my tummy at times for when I do still have the nausea. And there are some days that it does happen and some days that it doesn't, but before it was certainly an everyday thing where there was vomiting a couple of times a day, and I'm glad that that has subsided. Now I just want to eat anything and everything, unfortunately. I have currently gained 3 pounds so far. The doctor is very pleased. Baby's heart rate is in the 150s and doing well. The parents do know the gender, and I will not be sharing it. I don't feel that it's my place to share that. I think that's for them to share. But either way, no matter what the gender had been, I would have been excited for them. They knew going into it because the embryo was genetically tested. They did what's called a PGS, which is a pre-embryo, I think it's a pre-implantation genetic screening, I believe is what it is. And so they did that in advance and they were able to find out the gender, and so they know. But either way, I'm still just excited for them to know what's coming and what will be arriving as an early Christmas present for them. So that is all that I have for you guys on this video. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed, who has liked my videos, who has commented. I have appreciated it greatly. It's so nice to connect with people, and I know this journey is very intriguing for some people and a lot of people have questions, which I love. So if you have any more questions, please leave them down below. I would love to answer your questions and maybe do a Q&A here soon. I filmed one already. I think I'm going to refilm it just because I didn't like kind of the way I said certain things. Sometimes things can come off as insensitive, and health is kind of a touchy subject for some people, and there were just a couple things that I wanted to kind of reword and make sure that I was politically correct and wouldn't offend anybody. So I will be redoing that, but if any of you have questions, you can drop them down below and I will include them in my next video to get those answered for you guys. Some of you have been commenting that you are waiting for an update, so I hope you're happy that it is finally here. I'm so sorry it took me so long for it to get here. But I am also a mama of 3. I'm a salaried manager who works 45, maybe more hours a week. I have a husband who I want to spend time with, family and friends that we adore. It's summertime, so we want to get outside now. And honestly, I just wasn't feeling very good for a while with this pregnancy, as I said before. So I'm glad to be feeling a little bit better, and starting to have that energy back. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so you can continue to follow this journey along with us. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.